All right, let's find it. Enthusiasm. Channel all of my enthusiasm. All right, so today is a very special day because as many of you know from having watched our YouTube channel and Instagram that my KTM 300 XCW has the ugly ass TrailTech Cyclops headlight, and I'm not exactly sure what the name of it is. It came on my bike. I'm not responsible for putting it there. I just didn't want to spend the money, but I have bought the Baja Designs XL Pro light, which I am stoked about this. I mean, I've always wanted to do some night riding. You know, mostly this is just like a cosmetic appeal, just because I hate the look of that thing so much, the TrailTech headlight, that it has forced me to get one of these. And I have sworn to myself that once I spend the money and I have a good headlight on my bike, I will go and do more night riding. So what I'm gonna do for this video, first off, is I'm gonna unpack this. Then I'm gonna do some comparisons back to back. So I still have the TrailTech light on my helmet. So I'm gonna see what that looks like just to get some footage of it. You can see that comparison to this. Of course, that's like an old headlight, so it's probably not a fair comparison to something that's modern. It's LED. This thing is a killer headlight. It is the brightest headlight I think I can get for my bike. One quick note, the thing that you want to check out if you are going to go and buy one of these headlights, it's not really clear which headlight you should buy for your bike. When I was looking at it, I was like, I want the brightest headlight they offer. I would call it Baja Designs just to ask them, right? And the guy was like, no, you're tripping. Don't buy that headlight because that headlight takes too much draw and you'll never be able to power it with your bike, even if you rewind the stator. So he directed me to get the XL Pro, which is sadly only 3,500 lumens. Let's see what we got here. It's all pretty self-contained. The light, it seems to be plug and play. You've got a couple of connectors here that you need to figure out. The thing that I like about this headlight is that they're using the stock like headlight mask, or the front mask that they sell with the KTM. I think these are interchangeable. What I want to do is I want to get the orange one so it matches the rest of my bike. But the thing that I like about it is that they have routed the brake and the throttle cables, the brake and the speedo cable through on the outside, so it keeps it from bunching up. The TrailTech has it on the inside here, and it just like bunches up the cable. And unfortunately, it put so much stress, repetitive kind of motion on the front brake cable that it actually broke the front brake cable eventually. So I'm very happy that Baja Designs has had the foresight and the wisdom to route this where it was intended to go in the first place, so that way you don't have to worry about your brake cables bunching up. So last thing you've got in the bag is what looks to be instructions. We've got a couple of these rubber straps that hold it to the fork tubes. Sticker, which is cool. Warranty card. We got a couple of aluminum brackets and some screws and random hardware. Let's dive into it. You okay?
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you need more light.
And we're back after that lovely bout of me flopping around in the dark, trying to figure out how to ride this over our track. Yeah, it's all the headlight's fault. It's definitely not my ability to ride. I could do all that during the day. It's just not bright, like it's not confidence inspiring. So that being said, I'm gonna tear this thing off of here and put something on that is going to actually look good in the end. So this is to the Speedo, which I'm not gonna use anymore. Oh, there we go. All right. Well, I'm just unplugging the TrailTech head unit that I never used and never worked to begin with. So this should be the main power to this headlight, which I'm hoping is the same plug setup. Yeah, it looks to be the same plug as the one that comes off of the Baja Designs light. So just before we get too far, let's make sure that these are the same. Yeah, that's the same thing. Cool. So far, all of the plugs seem to be lining up fine. I just need to route it with the front brake and speedo cable and get that thing in here. They routed it through the back here. And when I put on these bark busters, like before it was kind of like it wouldn't necessarily go through very well. And that's why you see down here, like all of my brake cable and my speedo cable are all bunched up. And it's because this thing keeps hitting the brackets here for the bark busters. So with it mounted on the outside, I'm not gonna have that problem anymore, which is something I'm thoroughly stoked about. Oops, where does that go to? Wait, no, it goes to the headlight switch. So I should probably
replace the connector.
Yeah, just which one did I pull that out of? Fuck. It was this one. It was definitely this one. Okay. I should just put a new one on here. You happen to have these?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I've got the old headlight off. The first thing I actually want to do, I'm not really going to use like a speedometer or any kind of control unit like that. So I'm just going to get rid of my speedo cable. What I've done is I've put in a ground wire that I've ground to the frame because they have a ground wire here on this. When I bought this headlight, I told them the year, make, and model that it was going on, and so they've added the regulator rectifier already for me, which is kind of cool because I don't have to worry about that. And the instructions, I got a little bit freaked out because I was reading through there and they were saying how the bike puts out, or the stator puts out AC power that needs to be converted to DC power, and if you try to hook it up directly, it's going to burn out your light. But they've already taken care of that problem, which was nice, and just buying it directly from them. So I can go ahead now and just hook everything up, which is really straightforward. It's just the two plugs. This is the headlight plug that was plugged into the TrailTech. I can plug in the ground wire that I put on. The next thing is adjusting the headlight. So there's some kind of cool feature that's built into the Baja Designs headlight, is that they allow you to tilt the headlight angle. So I fired it up outside and the thing's pointed straight up at the sky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loosen this screw here on the back side, and I'm going to push it all the way back. Might be a little bit too far, but I can adjust that later. And that should put the headlight right about where I want it. So now that I've got that set up, the headlight's just going to sit down on these two prongs that come off the top of the front fender. I've got the wiring figured out, but one of the problem was that the regulator rectifier here was mounted to the side of the headlight, which when I mounted it up on here was hitting up against the fork tubes, which I really don't want. So what I've done is I pulled the rectifier off, and I think the best place that I can mount it is probably going to be right here to the top of the headset. So I just have a bolt from my bolt bucket here, and I'm just going to screw that in, and that should keep it out of the way of the headlight, keep all the wires nice and neat. So that works pretty good. Everything from looking back in here, all the wires seem to be up and out of the way and not rubbing up against anything or anything concerning in that way. So I do need to put the brake cable through here, which I'm actually going to replace this at some point, just because it's all kinked up from the last headlight. The last thing I'm noticing is that I probably am going to have to trim out the edges of the top of the headlight shroud here to fit around these Cycra handlebar mounting bolts here. So I'm going to have to get that out of the way. And then lastly, this comes with these rubber straps, like pretty much all of the headlights that mount around the fork tubes. So I need to put those on, and then it should be pretty much done. So I'm going to start with these rubber mounting straps. Just press them in there. that one, and then this one. On the back side, there's this screw here, which allows you to put the brake cable through that. So let me just unscrew that. So I got the light mounted in here. It's just kind of a tight fit to get it in behind the brake cable, but I think once you get it in place, everything, like it doesn't feel too taut. So I'm gonna put bracket back on here and screw that in place. Last thing to do is just to strap on the rubber straps on both sides. Cool. The last thing I need to do is go point this at a wall somewhere and just see kind of where it lines up. I have it mounted all the way forward, which I think, I don't know, just like looking at it, it doesn't look like it's like pointed. It still looks like it's shining up in the air. The nice thing that I did notice about this is that you can get to the mounting or the adjustment screw here on the side without having to pull anything off. So props to them for thinking about that in advance. You don't have to pull the whole headlight off. So yeah, let's go out and see how it lines up.
That is a lot of light. That is a whole lot more light than I used to have.
So it's been a really long time since I started this video with the Baja headlight installation. And the reason it's taken me so long to finish it is because I was kind of stumped on how to get the light to point in the direction that I wanted it to point. Right, so before what I had was those annoying brackets, and I'm just gonna stop right now and just say that Baja Designs has come up with the most jangety way I have ever seen of creating something that's a pass at mounting the headlight. They've made a wonderful headlight, absolutely unworkable when it comes to actually getting it to perform on the bike. It's an absolute joke what they've done, and I was really disappointed in that aspect of it. Right, so they're using the stock mask, and they had those brackets that would stick out. So your entire headlight mask was sticking like way out here. So it looked like this thing coming out of the front. And every time you hit a bump, the thing would just bounce and go off, right? Because it's only held on by two pegs that stick up from the bottom here, and then these two rubber straps, right? So anytime you would hit a bump, your headlight would just be hanging by the rubber straps off to the side. So I dealt with that for a while, and I was trying to figure out, okay, like how am I going to get rid of those bracket pieces that stick that tilt the entire mask forward. The problem is that if you just mounted the headlight into the mask, the headlight's pointing 45 degrees straight up into the air, so it's completely pointless. It's absolutely annoying, and it's just beyond me how there's no kind of adapter for this. What Designs did, and what I think is actually supposed to be done for the stock headlight, is that there's these nylon bushings that are basically the same as what I've got here. And these nylon bushings would create a space between, there's a bolt that runs straight through it. And then there's these tabs on the inside that the bolt runs through and then it hooks to the inside, right? So those nylon spacers, they're only about, I don't know, maybe an inch long, right? So they just hold it in place, and it's sitting in there straight with the headlight mask. What I've done is I've taken and 3D printed these 60 millimeter long spacers, right? So they're just cylinders, and they space it out. So that way I can lay the mask flat and have the the light actually tilt out of the mask, right? So you see how it's sitting here. And it's actually a perfect angle. I really like that. The problem is the first time I went and rode it, I did a night ride last weekend, and I looped the bike out on a rock. But basically it landed on the headlight, dinged it up, and broke the mount on the inside. Not my 3D printed contraption. It broke the actual perch that it bolts to on the inside. I am finishing up this video with saying the light is fantastic. The mounting system is absolute garbage. There's absolutely no point in buying a light if you can't get it to point in the direction you want it to point. Just a note on the light beam itself. It's extremely bright. I like that part of it. rode many hours at night. Great ride. The light that you get just from the light itself without any kind of attachments is very much a spot. And so you can see a long distance out in front of you, but you don't get much peripheral. Like, you definitely need another light. I know that Baja Designs sells some, I guess there is a bit of a, what do they call it? A corrugated diffuser. And that allows you to get somewhat of a spread. But what I was noticing more than anything was just like the absolute spot out in the distance. So I think with the light, the headlight alone, like, it's a very bright light, but I wouldn't want to go on a night ride just with this light alone. Like, I definitely want a helmet mounted light, which I have and which works really well, and that's a whole different thing. But for this light specifically, yeah, it's very much of like a spot out in the distance. So like all the lights focused on a very small area. I think that's most of my thoughts on this. I really don't know what I'm going to do next. The headlight shroud light mounting combo thing that I've got right now doesn't seem to be sturdy enough, and if I crash in any way, I'm sure that those little plastic tabs on the inside will just break again. This bike is old enough, it's a 2010, that there aren't any adapters for it, which is kind of sad. I know like companies like MotoMinded make a whole adapter that fits inside of here that is made for mounting these in the right way, and that seems to be a much sturdier setup, but they don't make them for bikes this old, at least not that I'm aware of. So I think if you have an older bike and you're looking at Baja Designs, like, you really need to think about how this thing's going to be mounted, because like I said, it's inadequate for if you're doing any kind of hard riding. Like, this would only work if you were just cruising down fire roads and you were never planning on dropping your bike ever, especially not doing any kind of hard enduro after dark. I don't know, it's just too much. So I'm going to leave you with one departing thought, which is to check out our line of enduro helmet chin mounts, or motorcycle helmet chin mounts. These are custom made for like 70 different helmets at this point of the helmet. Since we're on the topic of lights and mounting lights and whatnot, this is a prototype right now, but it is a light mount that will allow you to mount a light upside down on your helmet along with the GoPro. So if you are doing any night riding, you'll definitely want your headlight on your bike, but you can also mount a light to your helmet as well, which is a super cool feature. It's coming out soon. We're still working out a few of the details and rolling it out across our lineup, but this will be available if you are looking for a decent chin mount that also allows you to mount a light on it as well. Check out our social channels and check out our new t-shirts. They're so cool. We just got new t-shirts for our podcast where we interview really big names in the sport like Graham Jarvis and Cody Webb and a bunch of the other big names. So check that out if you want a new podcast to listen to. Check out our t-shirts, check out our mounts, and thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something, and I hope you have better luck with the Baja Designs light than I have. I really want to like this light. I love the light. The light is not the problem. The mounting system is the problem, and that is just it's so frustrating. Thank you for watching, and we'll catch you next time.